I don't have the numbers, but like the amount of cancer and heart disease and like the way I don't know if it's the food, if it's the environment, a little bit of both, but the way that we are dying and so sickly, being an adult and having to take care of parents. I don't care if you're taking care of them in your home, at a nursing home, or whatever you're doing something. You're checking up, making sure their medicines are okay, making sure that the paperwork is correct, making sure they have certain things or whatever be the case. But we're doing a lot. Even when somebody is sick, you're kind of like, unfortunately, starting to grieve knowing that they're eventually going to die. So that's a preparing that we don't even talk about. But it's like, okay, I know you're gonna die, I don't know when, but now I gotta prepare for this, and so now you start the grieving process without even the action happening. And then when the action happens, everybody goes, well, wouldn't you prepare? You like, never. No, no, thank you. I did
You
know,
can't
but
yeah.
no, and I don't know what people be thinking.
You can't prepare yourself. Like
You can't.
my dad was coming to Columbus. They live in Lima, and
Mhm.
my brother would bring my dad to Columbus because my dad had stomach cancer. And
Okay.
so, and my brother would bring him to Columbus, and I would meet them at the appointment. And then watching my dad was a strong man. Like he put on his site on the house, built the front porch. My dad can replace a whole motor. He was a jack of all trades, and so to see this strong man be so frail, and then watching him, just wither away, and then people was expecting for you to be the same person, and then when you try to put those boundaries up, they have an attitude, and so I had to make some adjustments. Like you said
Mhm.
early on, Tamekia, relationships change, and
Mhm.
so you find out who your real friends are, when
Quickly.
this type of things happen, because
Yes, ma'am.
they'll realize, the ones that's truly your friends will realize and just want to be there, like just talk, like, okay, just checking in on you. And that's all you
Mhm.
want. But the ones just want to just pour all their problems on you and want you to still, I don't want to hear the gossip. I don't want to hear any extra burdens. I need boundaries. And then those that don't want to honor that, just got to, I tell people, I don't cut people off. I make adjustments. You might have
Absolutely.
been 90 something percent of my life. Now you might be down to 1%. Because that was, I was like, I have a threshold. I'm not
Mhm.
Superman woman. I can't handle your issues and mine, and then
Mm-hmm.
with
Correct.
my dad. And then
Mm-hmm.
Right.
if you can't respect that, then you can't have the same access to me that you had before.
In this episode, Carmalina Simpson and Kim Davenport share their journey with grief as an adult child who lost a parent. Creating space and normalizing grief talks, they share holiday triggers, meaningful traditions, and tools to navigate their grief and how they continue to live life, grieve, and be happy. This is the kickoff to our Friendsgrieving the Love and Support Affair. So let's jump in.
Welcome to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. If you are new here, I am your host, Tamekia Armoon. Today, we will be talking about grief. We will be talking about grief, holiday triggers, and it will be from the perspective of an adult child. But the girl adult child, it will be from the perspective of us sharing our stories. Each one of us have lost a parent. So, before we jump in and get started, I'm going to have these two phenomenal ladies introduce themselves. And then we're just going to jump straight into the conversation of talking about grief, the holidays, and triggers, and our journey. So, Carmelina, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, happy hour conversation viewers. My name is Carmalina Simpson, and I am here because I lost my dad in May 29th, 2023.
Kim?
All right. I am Kim-Aisha Davenport, and I am here today. I lost my mother in 2017 after a battle with cancer. And I just want to shed light on how it feels to be an adult child grieving.
And I am again your host, Tamika R. Moon. Again, if you are new here, I have lost both my mom and my dad. I lost my mother in 2019, and here recently, I just lost my father, July of this year, 2025. And so we're going to jump straight into talking about grief and the holidays and just sharing our journey. And so one, two things I'm gonna have us do, and then we're just gonna jump straight into having a conversation. And so, what I want to lead with is grief is, and then grief has, right? And so, I'll start with me. So I'm just gonna say, to me, grief is love. Grief is tough, and it's everyday work. It's everyday work for me. Grief has taught me to look at life through a different lens. Grief has taught me to grow. It has grown me. Grief has allowed me to be an advocate and to use my voice. And grief has most definitely changed relationships within my family and my close circles. So, Carmelina and then Kim, if you could share what grief is and what grief has, and then we'll just jump into our stories.
Grief to me is just love. Like, I love my dad so much. And it's like, where does the love go now that he's gone? So, um, and then grief is pretty much, I'm going to echo everything you just said, Tamika. Grief have taught me to look up on, I have a different look on life now, a different perspective. Um, I have grown. My communication with my siblings is now different. It started at a place where I'm like, they should know this by now, but then you meet people where they're at. Because if you don't, you won't have that communication with your family. That communication with my family has grown tremendously. Before it was pretty much little, I would say very little communication, good communication, but has gotten into a better communication out with me and my sibling. Now that when people say meet people where they are at, you meet them where they're at, and then you guys take yourself up to the level where you can communicate, because otherwise you won't have a communication. And then so it's yeah, so everything you said in that.
I love that. I love that. I
Yes.
love that you said meet people where they are. And then Kim, I'm gonna let you jump in, but I love that
Mhm.
you said meet people where they are because I myself have siblings, right? And you get to a space to understand that each person is grieving differently. Each person may need something. And because something may impact myself or I may need something, it's almost like you had to do a weather check. So I love that you said meet people where they're at as it relates to grief, specifically like your siblings, because the journey is not the same for each. At least in my experience, it is not the same for each. So I love that you said that. Kim, how about you?
No, the way that she said it was perfect because I have four siblings, and then my mother also mothered my friends. So every relationship had a different dynamic and they had to grieve it differently. As far as me and loss, I feel like grief has taught me duality on a whole nother level because we don't speak about two things happening at the same time, but they do. Like I was angry and I was also happy because my mom had cancer. So it was painful. She got down to like 120 pounds. Like that's hard. So not having her be in pain anymore, I was relieved in some part of joy for her. But then I was also angry because now I had teenagers and now I got like all this stuff I got to do and I got to do it without her. When I bought my first home and I had to do it without her. I mean, she was a loan agent and all these financial things that she taught us to do that now that I was doing and living, I had no place to share that joy. So, yeah, grief taught me duality.
I love that duality. I say coexistence, which is the same thing, right?
Hmm.
Like you
Two
learn
things.
that you can be mad, you can be angry, you can be pissed, but you can also dance in joy and
Yes.
happiness as well. And it's a journey in knowing that it's like, oh, wait a minute, these two things can coexist together. Because on one side it's like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be mad. I'm supposed to be
Yes.
angry because physically my mother, my parent isn't here. But then
Yes.
it's like, wait, I'm happy as well, right? For
Yes.
you, you said because your mom is no longer in pain, right? I know
Yes.
for me, it was like I found happiness in that my mother didn't have to experience, or my father didn't have to experience losing a child, and
Mm.
going through this, right? And
Right.
so let's jump in and let's talk about the holidays, because I don't care if it's first year, fifth year, the 20th year. I think what is this is the sixth year for me with my mom, and then it'll be the first year as it relates to my dad. So I feel like I don't care where you are in the journey with grief as it relates to losing a parent. I feel like there are always triggers. Something is going to always trigger, and you just learn how to navigate it. So let's talk about how the holidays impact you all. And Carmelina, I'm gonna start with you, and then we're just going to kind of go back and forth.
Okay, so how the holidays has impacted me since my dad left. Um, Holidays bring up a mixture of emotions: sadness, reflection, gratitude, emptiness. The sadness comes from missing my dad, of course. My dad, JW, he was such a great man, such a constant present in our life. Sometimes I think about the different things because he was so involved, not just um, in my life, but all of our lives on all the levels. My dad showed up for everything. He was at my basic training. He picked me up from EIT. And if I ever had car problems, I could call him. One time he drove down to Columbus while I was at work to fix my car. So the emptiness I feel is because my dad was the patriarch of our family, the glue that held everything together. He was dependable, reliable, respected. He didn't smoke or he didn't even drink. He was a hard worker. People just didn't depend on him. They trusted my dad. And so the holidays remind me of the void that he left, but also how much he poured into us while he was here.
Hmm. Hmm. Was that Kim?
Um, the holidays are just they're different. I had my children very young, so I didn't like wrapping gifts. So I would take all my gifts over to my mom's house, and she would wrap them for me. And like my kids would wake up, and all the gifts would be wrapped all pretty. And so to this day, I don't wrap gifts. I don't even wrap gifts I buy people. If you see your gift in a bag, it's a reason. No, I'm not wrapping it. It's an emotional thing for me, and I just miss her doing it. It's not that I
Mm-hmm.
cannot do it. Some things that I think when we miss people, it's not that we cannot do them. It's just that they did them so good and at such a level that you just like, I don't want to revisit that. I just
Mm-hmm.
I want that to be a special place and a special time. And as we travel through time, like as we're going forward, going even remembering backward, there's things that I just don't do. So the holidays are a time for celebration of the life that we have here. But in remembrance of her, my mother, I don't do certain things because it's hard and it's like it gets emotional and I miss her and I want her to do them. It's just
Mm-hmm.
the honest truth. And since she's not here, I just don't do. And my children have come to the point where they like, oh, okay, fine, we're not worried about it or whatever. But they miss her too. So um finding ways to celebrate her. We bought her a tree. I didn't have a tree in my house. I did have the honor of taking care of my mother. She had hospice in my home, which people were like, oh my god, how you do that? Well, you do it when you love somebody. So I took care of her. So we bought her a tree in my house, a little 6 foot, 5 foot, whatever tree. I didn't have a tree because I went to her house all the time. So that tree, my children bring up every year and they plug that tree up and they do. I don't do it. I don't want to do it. They do it every year. And every year she like just white lights, like not the color lights or this and that. So for the first 2 or 3 days that we had a tree on, we just got it on white lights and we just light it. And that's the remembrance of my mother. And I honor it and I love it. And it makes me feel like she's here.
I love that. And that's how you honor your mom. I can also understand too, not wrapping the gifts because it's like that's my thing that I want to hold on to, and it's here. And it's,
Yes.
the years that you had with your mom, it's like that was our bond, that was our thing. And she was for you, she was perfect at it. But I want to hold
Yes.
that here in my heart as it
Yes.
relates to my mom and her no longer physically being here. Um, what new traditions? Because sometimes, for me, I've learned that trying to carry on the same traditions
Mm.
is hard, but I've also learned to give myself permission to figure out what works now and what I don't want to have as a tradition anymore and what I want to create as a new tradition. So are there any new traditions that you all do with your kids, your grandkids, or that you might just do by yourself?
Well, mine is still fairly new. So my dad passed away again in May 2023. So this will be the second um, holiday without him. And so I don't really have any new traditions because every Thanksgiving and then Christmas, my dad was we were my turkey fryer buddy. So we would talk about how we're gonna prep the turkey, and he would always get the turkey and say, "Okay, I got the turkey and it's all thawed out." And so what do I have to do? I said, "Dad, go make sure you get the injections, make sure you inject it in." And he said, "Okay, I already got the peanut oil and I'm ready to put the peanut oil in there, and I'm just gonna wait for you to get there." And so we would do it together. Like he would drop it down in the thing, and we would make sure that the heat was at the right temperature, and my mom would cook all the fixings. I mean, my dad would do the turkey. And so right now we're still the first year my dad passed away. I asked my mom, say, "What do you want to do?" And she was like, I said, "Just do you want to just go away?" She was like, "Yeah." So we went to Vegas for Thanksgiving. My brother, my daughter, my grandkids, they came, but my other siblings didn't come. And so one of my siblings was upset, but she didn't voice it. So remember that I was telling you guys again, the communication, you got to meet them where they are at so that they can learn how to communicate and provide feedback. And so that was one of those learning experiences. Like I didn't know that he had a problem with me taking my mom to Vegas and he could have came with us. But again, that was one of those learning lessons learned, so we can communicate better. And so now that my mom, like she can't do much. My dad was my mom's caregiver. And so it got to the point where we was, cutting up the fixings and everything for my mom. And she was, giving us orders, put this in here and make sure you cut this up and make sure you do that. Because my mom had like 3 strokes. And it's like, so she's paralyzed on one side, and then so she can barely even move her arm on the other side. So she can't do Thanksgiving like she used to. And so this year I told my mom, even though she's in a nursing home, and I told her, I said, "Just do Thanksgiving at your house, have them bring you home, and my sister's gonna come in town." And I told her, I said, "I'll make Thanksgiving." I said, "I have perfected your dressing, which no one could perfect her dressing." And so before, God give you discernment and he give you like so you can prepare. And so it was couple years before my dad even got sick, where I told my mom, "I need you to start writing down your dressing
Mhm.
recipe so I can have it." And here I wrote everything down, and had my daughter, she was taking notes as well. Then my dad, when they got it laminated. Um, and so I have that in my little pantry. And so I've been making it because my daughter loves dressing. And so I would always try it out with my daughter. It's like, am I there yet? The first time I made it, my daughter was like, about 50%. The next year I got to 70%. I mean,
halfway there.
but I was making it before the holidays, so it's making it for. But girl, I'm at like 90% now with the dressing, and so so this year I'm like, we're not going to change anything. The only thing it's going to be is it's not gonna, my dad is not going to be there with the turkey, and so I have a new thing. It's not a deep fryer. I purchased something last year that I made. That I'm going to use, but I'm still going to do the same preparations that me and my dad did together, and so nothing's going to change. I'm going to do everything we did when he was here. I don't want to introduce anything different, and so when I'm prepping the turkey like I did last year, I'm thinking about him. Like I would send him, instead of him going to the store and getting the injection, I'm going to the store get the injection, but he's on my mind. And so as I'm doing the preparations, because my dad, he wouldn't want us to be sitting here dwelling, and he was that type of man, not a selfish person whatsoever. He thought about us, his kids, and my mama. My mom was number one, and then us if he had time, after he got done with my mom, and then anyone outside of us. So yes.
Nice.
No new traditions, and I can't imagine changing anything up. As long as my mom is here.
You know what? I love that as it relates to traditions, because you're still finding your way. And I think that's what matters, is that you are, like you said, your dad wouldn't want you all just being sad and not doing anything, right? And so I know for me from experience, it's, that first year the first year, honestly, my mom, it was COVID. So everybody was already isolated, right?
Oh,
yeah, it was COVID. And then the second year, so I think each year everybody just had to find their way in what worked. I love that you said something about the recipes, because listen, one thing I have learned is we don't realize how important those recipes are, y'all.
yes.
Let me tell you, my mom, she transitioned in 2019. To give you some perspective, let me tell you, they in Ohio had a tornado. The area my mom lived in, it ripped her whole apartments to pieces. My mother's building was the only one pretty much standing. Right. So my aunt had went in there and she was like, what do you want from in here? Because people was going through stealing people's stuff. I said, if you can just find her recipes, if you can find stuff where she had wrote down, because she had things written down in different places and Post-it notes stuck here, like it wasn't a whole book put together, but she had things written down. And my aunt found it. My aunt found my mom's recipes that she kept in a little notebook. And actually I have it somewhere around here. And then the other part is I have a younger sister who is like 32. It's a huge age difference between the both of us. She was always in the kitchen with my mom, like always watching. So when it comes to cooking, would y'all believe, like my 32-year-old sister literally could mimic my mom. And so my mom was like the glue to always cooking all of the holiday stuff, all the birthday things. And so I love that you said something about the recipes, because when an individual is gone, those things go with them. It's like, that is the richness. That is the history that we need to keep, right? And pass it on down, and it's like, wow, you don't understand it until it's no longer, I got used to saying, calling mama, how I do. Girl, walk
that was me. And if your mom was like my mom is from Mississippi, they don't write stuff down. I had to she was like, oh no, you add a little bit of here. I said, Mom, but how much? Then I said, okay, Mom, instead of you just pouring it in there, I said, I need you to pour it in this measuring cup. So
I go, oh, wait a minute, what now? A table
about this much?
Yeah.
To the line the pie.
2 cans. She said, just to put 2 cans in there. And then she put 2 cans in there. She said, I need to put another can. And I say, so it's just not 2 cans. I said,
But no,
just
because
let
I
your
got
kids
more
know.
greens this time than I had last time. So I need a little bit more than you'd be
Right,
like,
yeah.
okay, so how am I supposed to know? Do I grab 4 collard greens and 2 like 2 onions?
Listen.
Well, you're gonna grab 1 onion if the other onion is
And that's
and the,
it. You never know.
But like you said, like you end up figuring it out, you know, and like for me, I know I just like, all right, mom, come talk to me. Like, okay, what this needs to taste like yours. And cooking was my mom's love language.
Oh,
Like
that's my mom's too.
that was her love language, you know. Is it good? Y'all like it? How it tastes? And I used to be like,
Hmm.
and if it wasn't right, ooh, baby, she'll be like, hold on, let me do this again. Cause
Girl,
this is
yes.
not
My
sweet
mom
as
bragged on
Linda.
her cooking
This
to
don't
this
have
day.
Linda's touch. So I love that,
Mhm.
Kim. What about you?
um so it's funny y'all talk about that. Like my mother wasn't a cooker, right? So I can't like I don't chime in on those conversations. Like, yeah, my mama, she wasn't like I don't have that. But my mother was she had a lot of wisdom. So she got her diagnosis that she was stage 4. And she was coming back and forth. She had a house with my aunt in Cincinnati, and she was coming back to Columbus. So she was coming back and forth, and she would stay with me for like 2, 3 days at the end. Now that was my girl, so I didn't. I was like, okay, cool. So she got sick, and she was at OSU, and I picked her up from OSU, and I went to the hospital. And she was like, no, go home, and I didn't realize why she was telling me to go home. So I went home because your mother tell you what you do, and you just do that.
That's
So
right.
I went home, and the next week after that was going to be Thanksgiving. So she knew she had stage 4. She didn't tell anybody. So
Mm.
she started asking me to cook all of these things. I was like, this is getting ridiculous. So, because I can cook, because my father's mother cooked and my mother's mother cooked, but she just didn't cook. So anyway, she was like, I want some sweet potato pies. I want a pound cake. I want a turkey and I want a ham. And I was like, okay, you kind of over. And something in me said, don't you complain, not one word. Now it was in me to complain. So I didn't complain. I didn't say anything. I just kept taking the order. I kept taking the order. So then she called on all of the siblings to be there in this apartment I had. So everybody came to the house and everybody was there and everybody ate really good. Everybody was happy. We laughing and all of these beautiful things. And everybody left. And as everybody was leaving, because I was the one that could always get stuff out of my mother, they was like, Mom, something wrong with mom. Kim, you ask her. I was like, what? Y'all ask her. And I was like, okay, fine. So everybody had left, everybody left. And I said, "Oh, Mom, what's wrong?" And she didn't want to talk about it. And then like the next day after that, I messed with her again. Like, Mom, what's wrong? Because something wrong. And she told me. And it just like I was dumbfounded. Like, wait a minute, you just went through the whole holiday. You didn't say one word. You let us have it. But every year I make sure I have Thanksgiving. I said all that to say every year I make sure I have Thanksgiving because it was one of the last gifts my mother gave me
Mm.
without being in pain, because people don't understand when you know somebody is sick, you're in pain because you know they're in pain. So she let us have that piece of joy, and that was her heart. She always let everybody else have that piece of joy. And so she let us have it. So every year, even when I got my house, I invited everybody over and everybody put their menu together. I don't even eat meat and I cook meat. I cook whatever everybody on the menu and everybody, we have a good time. And that's how I honor her. And that's how I'm able to deal with some of it because yeah, Thanksgiving is one of them hard ones for me. But yeah, so
That was powerful. I love that. And taking the piece that your mom left you and just continuing to honor her in that way, which is the new tradition for you.
yes.
Wow, I love that. My sister, which I didn't realize it, she had actually asked me, she said, "Are we cooking this year?" I was like, "Girl, like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to commit, you know." Sometimes you just
Mhm.
may want to sit on the couch.
Right.
And so she looked at me, she said, "Well, we've been doing it every year." And I said, "No, we haven't." Y'all, she had to pull the receipts. She ran it back. Then
What?
she was like, I said, "Oh, I guess like unbeknownst to me, we have been cooking, right? Like I didn't
Mhm.
even realize we had been cooking. We wasn't going down to dating, but we were cooking here in my home. And I was like, oh, except for 1 year. She was like, only a year you didn't go. Well, you didn't cook because you went to Houston. But you still went to Houston and y'all still cooked. And I was like,
Right.
oh, I did. Y'all,
Mhm.
I've been going through this phase where I am, oh, y'all gonna have me crying.
I know, right?
I have been going through this phase where I am now realizing that I am. I am my mother. I am my grandmother. I am them now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I am her. Like it's my turn.
Yes.
And I don't know if I am saying this right, but it's like I guess it's the becoming. It's like, oh, you're not
Absolutely.
little Tamekia anymore.
Mm-mm.
You are now stepping into a
Elder.
role that,
Matriarch now.
Yep, matriarch. Yeah, that.
and it's
Mhm.
like,
You don't want to
whoa,
take on it.
wait a minute. No, that sound like it's too much. And when I think about it, I don't even fit in. We don't really talk about this, but then when you think of the role of a matriarch, right? You think of someone who have kids, someone who have a husband. Matriarch was big mama. Matriarch was
Mhm.
grandma. You know what I
Right.
mean? Somebody that was older. But then it's like, no, as time change and things evolve, new terms can be put on, or a
Absolutely.
new way can be put on what a word may have meant back then.
With no age.
With no age, with
With
no
no
age. And
age.
so
Right.
I'm like, oh,
Mm-mm.
I am in this space of becoming my mom, my grandma. I'm becoming her. And so, y'all, after I went through that little phase and my sister made me acknowledge that we typically cook, I sent a text out and was like, hey, we're cooking Thanksgiving.
Right.
Let me know if you want to come through and stop, come today. I come to Columbus. But I was like, wow, this
Yep.
is me now. And so it's still new and I'm still learning and it's trying to embrace. But some titles they just feel heavy.
They do. But the funny thing
Oh
about a
yes.
title is the thing about a title is we don't want the title, but we've been doing the work the whole time. So your sister pointed out to you with receipts, baby, we've been doing this for the last 9 years, so I don't know what you're talking about. So it's like it's funny how we be like, I don't want the title, but you've been doing the work. You've been being your mother the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she prepared you for this moment right here. To our parents prepare us to not have them. We just want them. They prepare us for that. We just don't be feeling like we prepared. But if the whole time that they had us, that's exactly what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking, it's like, what we know is our parents are the super mom, super dad, right?
Yeah.
I don't care
Yeah.
how old you get, like that's my parent. That's my shero. That's my hero, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
then as we're talking, it's like, oh, at one point they felt like how we feel.
Absolutely.
They just didn't talk about it, but I know for sure that they felt the same way that we feel, and they navigated and had to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
in this space where they didn't talk about certain things back then.
Right.
So, but I'll tell you this grief thing, especially being an adult child.
Yeah, it's something totally. I don't think anybody prepares you for. I mean, currently we're in a. I don't know. I don't have the statistics. I don't have the numbers, but like the amount of cancer and heart disease and like the way I don't know if it's the food, if it's the environment, a little bit of both, but the way that we are dying and so sickly, being an adult and having to take care of parents. I don't care if you're taking care of them in your home, at a nursing home, or whatever you're doing something. You're checking up, making sure their medicines are okay, making sure that the paperwork is correct, making sure they have certain things or whatever be the case. But we're doing a lot even when somebody is sick, you're kind of like, unfortunately, starting to grieve, knowing that they're eventually going to die. So that's a preparing that we don't even talk about, but it's like, okay, I know you're gonna die, I don't know when, but now I gotta prepare for this, and so now you start the grieving process without even the action happening. And then when the action happens, everybody goes, well, wouldn't you prepare? You like, never. No, no, thank you. I did
You
know,
can't,
but
yeah,
no. And I don't know what people be thinking.
you can't prepare yourself. Like,
You can't.
my dad was coming to Columbus. They live in Lima, and
Mhm.
my brother would bring my dad to Columbus because my dad had stomach cancer.
Okay.
And so, and my brother would bring him to Columbus, and I would meet them at the appointment. And then watching my dad was a strong man. Like, he put on his site on the house, built the front porch. My dad can replace a whole motor. He was a jack of all trades. And so to see this strong man, he'd be so frail, and then watching him, just wither away, and then people was expecting for you to be the same person, and then when you try to put those boundaries up, they have an attitude, and so I had to make some adjustments. Like you said early on, Tamekia, relationships change, and so you find out who your real friends are, when
Quickly.
this type of things happen, because
Yes, ma'am.
they'll realize, the ones that's truly your friends will realize and just want to be there, like just talk, like, okay, just checking in on you. And that's all you want. But the ones just want to just pour all their problems on you and want you to still, I don't want to hear the gossip. I don't want to hear any extra burdens. I need boundaries. And then those that don't want to honor that, I tell people, I don't cut people off. I make adjustments. You might have been 90 something percent of my life. Now you might be down to 1%. Because that was, I was like, I have a threshold. I'm not Superwoman. I can't handle your issues and mine. And then with my dad. And then if you can't respect that, then you can't have the same access to me that you had before.
Correct.
I love that, setting boundaries. When you were talking, or I don't know if it was you or Kim, but you all made me because I had two different experiences with both of my parents. Like, my mom was unexpected, right? One day I'm talking to her, ha ha ha, and my mom was good about, even in my 40s, 30s and 40s, she still tucked me in at night. Call it, girl, what you doing? All right, I just called to say good night. All right, I love you. And so that morning, my sister had just had a baby, and so I knew it was my mom's first grandchild, so I knew she was going to go watch her grandson, right? So that was unexpected, because I got a call that day to come to Dayton from a stranger. Like, hey, can you get here? Your mom's been rushed to the hospital. So my mom was unexpected. Like, I don't care whether it's unexpected or you have a journey, you are never prepared. Because with my dad, I had a journey. With my dad. My dad's been ill probably 16 and 17. By 21, I had made a decision about putting him in a nursing home. And I like to talk about these things and be transparent, because sometimes I think we feel like we need to hold things in and not share so much. And it's just like, no, people need to know this is what people are going through, right? And so I have made a decision to put my dad in the nursing home because he really needed 24-hour care. And so we talking about from 21 till now. And each year, each month, each week, each moment, I watched him decline. So I had to grieve. Like, I just couldn't call him up like, hey, what you doing? Come, let's go get something to eat, or whatever it was, that relationship that we had. So I had to grieve not being able to call my dad for whatever I used to call my dad for, to now being on the side of having to speak up for him, having to be his voice, having to make sure doctors, nursing homes, taking phone calls, checking in, like doing those things, and then watching him decline. I'm like, which was on one side, it was just like, okay, let me prepare myself to walk in here and see this version of my dad that I don't even know, but now I got to get to know,
Mm-hmm.
that has dementia, that he has good days, bad days, and some days he like, to me, what do you want today? Tell these people to leave me the hell alone, And so I share that because you are right. There is no, you can't be prepared. I don't care how long the journey is. When it happens, it's almost like you starting over.
I feel like I always equated to, and I tell people it's like being in a world with no blanket anymore. Because our parents cover us. Like, people believe in, Christian or the blood of Jesus, whatever, like whatever your beliefs are, that's a covering. If people have husbands, that's a covering. Parents are a covering. And when they die, it's like that you walking around without a blanket. Like, I call my mother, she was a corporate woman. So like I would call her for all the corporate, like, so they telling me, and she'd be like, okay, so this is what you do. This is the next play. I'd be like, okay, what's the play? And so like every morning. So now I have to find somebody else for my corporate information or my asset of that or wisdom that they carry or, baked goods or just all of these assets that our parents carry. And when they go, it's like now we naked. And now I got to figure out how to put clothes on. And some days I don't want to wear clothes. Some days I want to walk around naked because I am now an orphan, even though I am an adult, right? To some degree. Nobody talks about that. They're just like, oh, you'll be okay. You like, but I'm not. And depending on the day, I might not be.
Like I'm telling you, I'm not okay. And I love that you used not being uncovered. When my dad passed, and again, I had a journey with him, but when he physically left, I kept telling people like I can't really explain this, but I feel like I know I've been an adult for a long time, but my adult level it's tripled, quadrupled. Like I'm an adult pro now. Like I'm up here and I just feel weird. And so I was talking to a friend. He said, "You feel weird because you're uncovered." And I'm like, "Huh?" Because I kept saying I'm unparented, I'm unsupervised. He said, "You're uncovered." I said, "Oh." So then I had a process what he was saying. I said, "Oh yeah, he's right. I'm uncovered."
Yes.
And when I tell you that thing sat with me and I continuously process it, like this whole being 46, soon to be 47 and uncovered with no parents who I know has gotten me this far. I ain't get here by myself.
No. And she was saying, I was not pronouncing your name correctly. Carmalina, like you were saying, your dad drove all the way down there, fixed your car while you was at work. You came home to a fixed car. Like the things that our parents do. I had a set of twins at 22, and I had already had a 2-year-old. My mother came home from her job, helped me breastfeed and pump the milk for my baby, set the stuff up, and then left and went home. Like it was just things that they do that is amazing that we can just never repay them for. But when they are gone, we feel the loss. Because we felt the love.
Yeah. You know what? I can just say this, that because my dad was 87, he passed away. My mom right now is currently 84. So they were aging and they were getting up there in age. And I realized that early on. And so I was starting to try to repay, all the time my dad had gave, coming to my basic training, coming to see me, repairing stuff, me calling him on the phone, same with my mom. And so I would be like, Dad, you guys need this with your house. Okay, I'm going to take care of this. Mom, you need this. Okay, I'm going to take care of that. So early on, I start wanting to reciprocate and try to give back. And so to the point where I would call and my mom would tell my dad, she was like, Jay, your mom was on the phone. because I was turned into the parent, because I was turned into the person that trying to give back to them. Like, Dad, why you got this little small TV? Okay, I'm about to give you this big TV. You got him a nice big size TV to watch his Cleveland Browns on. And so I look back on that and I was like, you know what? I'm so thankful that God gave me that, the hindsight.
Opportunity.
Is that something?
Mhm.
Yeah, to start giving back. So I wouldn't have any regrets of being the person that's saying that, okay, my parents constantly gave to me. But I was like, I was able to reciprocate. I can't ever pay them back as much as they gave to me. But I can tell you that I was taking them on trips. They went to Disney World with me, even though my dad went trying to go to any amusement park. He stayed in a resort, but my mom came. And so booked them trips to Las Vegas. I'm like, you know what? So I said, I can tell people, I said, I treated my family, my parents. I try to give back as much as I possibly could, because I was grateful and
Yes.
thankful for all that they have gave to me. So
Yes.
I tell people, appreciate your parents while you have them. Give back to
Mhm.
them. Don't be constantly asking them for stuff and for favors.
Absolutely.
You're a grown, like we're here talking. We're grown adults, right? So
Mhm.
now it's time to give back and take care of our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one good thing that I can say. It makes me feel good, to say that, you know what, I did give back some. I could never repay them back for my life and all that they have done for me, but I can at least say that I have did something for.
Honoring them giving them their flowers and honoring them while they are
And that's
here.
it. Give them that's right.
Yes.
Give them their flowers
Yes,
while they were here.
Yes.
yes,
I
I
can
love
definitely
that.
say that I did that.
I love
Yes.
that. Before we get ready to wrap up, are there any questions that or anything that has come to your mind as we are talking that you all want to ask or share with one another? Any questions?
I had a question, and it came like when you asked, like I did like that index, like because it made you really think about it. And I
Mhm.
was thinking, why in the African American group of people we don't honor our ancestors? Like, is that a Christian thing? Is that like why don't we honor them? And when people, people get confused with honoring and worshiping.
Mm,
And I think that they don't understand that those are two totally different worlds. But if you have been loved by a parent, there are things that I feel like you should be doing to honor them, to also remember them. So release balloons, or people pour alcohol, or they do all these things when they die, or cross over, or however someone sees it, but they don't do anything to honor them. Like, they don't light a candle, they don't. As for me, my mother was a tea drinker. I'm a coffee and tea drinker. But she was a tea drinker. Sometimes I just sit some tea out.
mm-hmm,
Hey, ma, you in my house, you're in my home, you're in my life. My daughter, my mother loved flowers. When she had cancer, they told her she couldn't have no flowers. A little bit after that, she was like, I ain't doing no more treatments. Okay. Because I want my flowers. She was serious. My daughter makes me flower arrangements. And every time I see them, it like give me a little, it take me back, because she knows that that's a mother thing for me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I honor her with that. I have a tattoo on my body that says "Do the work," and it has her name on it. People are like, what is that about? My mother's last words were "Do the work." I honor her by remembering the wisdom that she bestowed upon me. I honor her by pouring her a cup of tea. I honor her by living in the ways and the morals that she taught me. So I just wonder, as African American women, men, people, adults that are mourning their family member, their father, mother, why don't people honor them?
You know what? I think people, I don't know. I can't speak for anyone else, but I can tell you what I do for my dad. Like, I really didn't have an NFL team. I did. I cheered for the Browns because of my dad. Not really, didn't put that much effort in it. Like, if it was on, I may watch it or may not. I'm a diehard Browns fan now. And I'm a diehard because my dad was diehard now. Because my dad, when Cleveland, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but Cleveland left and went to Baltimore, My dad
Yes.
stopped watching TV. And he stopped watching the football games, right? That's just how bad it was. I was like, Dad, just watch Cincinnati. No, I ain't watching no nothing, right? He was angry. And so once Cleveland Browns got a team back, he was really happy. I tell people, I said, my dad was so diehard that if Cleveland lost, we about to have a GI party. My dad was military just like I was. I was like, we would like, did Cleveland win? Oh man, they didn't win. We have a GI party. And so I honor my dad by being a Browns fan. I probably won't be as diehard as he is, but I have Browns gear, and now I'm like, okay, where's the Browns fan club at? I talk to my friends, and I'm on board with the Browns now. People ask, "Who's your team?" Cleveland Browns. I got a little sign outside of my yard. That's me honoring my dad. So the Cleveland
Beautiful.
Browns is my I even have pictures of my dad. I had a security system on their house, and I purchased these flags for my dad, and he would hang them out there on the porch. I even had on the security system. I even download the video where my dad every Sunday would go out there, or whenever Cleveland would play, because they sometimes they play on Mondays. He would go out there and put those flags up on the porch, and I download those videos just so I can reminisce and still see my dad on a video.
Right.
And yes,
Nice.
so that's my honoring my dad.
And that's one. And thank you. And that's wonderful. That is beautiful, and that is wonderful.
You had mentioned about honoring. I'm with Carmalina, right? Like I can't speak for every, but it's actually a question I don't know if I've really thought about. But when you ask it, what came to my mind is some people operate in being selfish. Some people operate in feeling guilty. Um, some people operate in not wanting to move forward, like just kind of being stuck in that space. Because I feel like sometimes it's okay to be stuck, right? Because when
Right.
you lose somebody, it's expected to be stuck. But you are
Absolutely.
supposed to get yourself out of that quicksand. You're supposed to work towards like the healing and navigating those pieces, right? Um, and so when it comes to honoring, I think it's also one of those things that we just don't talk about. We just don't talk about it, right?
Right.
I know I had to learn how I wanted to honor my mom. And so honor my mom, like I think it was it 2020 or maybe 2021? I was just like, okay, what am I gonna do? We didn't even do Thanksgiving 2020, but I think I was just like, all right, I'm gonna make her banana pudding. I had never made her banana pudding ever in my life. Do you hear me? So I was really taking a risk here because it needed to be perfect. I had never made it, but I had the recipe. What I do know is that I can cook. I come from a family of cookers, right?
Right.
I do know I can cook. Then I knew I had my sister, my baby sister, as a lifeline, right? So for 2020, I think I did. Carmelina, I think you might have been the winner on one of them.
And my dad was able to indulge in it, and he loves banana pudding. My dad, so thank you.
So I think I did that for
When I
like,
was bitten on that, I was like, my dad would love this.
I think I did that for 3 years, right, Kim? Like I would get on and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing for Thanksgiving. It's going to be a banana pudding giveaway, and people would have to do numbers, and I would get online and like pick the number. And so that was fun. And so from there, like I had to learn like other things. Go buy a plant, right? Okay, this is the plant because I want to speak life. I want to continue to live keep my mom's energy going. And my mom, she loved plants. And so we'd go pick a plant. Or sometimes just walk and just be like, you know what? I'm gonna walk in her name. I just wanna be better at certain things. And when it comes to both of my parents, how I honor them is each day. It's work. And when I say it's work. But getting better at my health, right? Like both of my parents, um, again, it's a thing that we don't really talk about, but health was, there were some things they could have changed. There's some things my mom didn't necessarily share with us, and I honestly believe it was her way of protecting us. It was some things she like, well, yeah, I'm dealing with this, but this is what I tell myself. This is the story I have, that she in her
The
own
only one you
way.
got?
Yeah, in her own way that she was protecting her children from certain
Mhm.
things, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm learning while I'm on this journey how to honor. But when I tell you, I've probably been in the gym these last 2 years more than I've ever been in all of my lifetime. I've probably eaten more healthier. You know what I mean? And not that I don't indulge in certain things, I do.
Right.
What I don't indulge in is sitting and eating a pan of brownies anymore, or sitting and eating a whole bag of chips. Now I might do it if I'm just like, hey, I'm about to watch a movie.
Right.
But it was a problem where I eat a bag of chip on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. You know what I mean? Like it was it's a
Every
continue
day,
every
all
day,
day.
every
that
day. And
that was my
so
thing. Hmm.
so I had to find things to honor them. As I continue in this journey, I will continue to find other ways. Like it's always something new, because for me, I want to keep their energy. I want to keep their name, keep their name going. Um, and this is where we are. Like my dad, he wasn't no big holiday person per se, right? Um, Meaning like he wasn't that person that was gonna play Santa Claus. Like he wasn't that person. But he was gonna make sure people had whatever they needed, right?
Mhm.
And wouldn't say a word about it. Nobody would have known that it was coming from Moon or any of that. So he was that type of person. He was a giving person. And so
Right.
as I continue in this journey, I just find new ways to honor. But it is a really good question, Kim, about um why we do have a difficult time of understanding, like, honoring and keeping their name going. Because it's my belief that they're still here. We just have to keep them here and keep the
Yes.
light and the energy going. That's my belief.
I think you're absolutely correct. My DNA, it'll go down, and then my kids, and then their kids, and then their kids, and whoever, and then your sister and her kids, and like they will all have uh, fingerprints of your mother in them. So it's like we should, they're definitely here. And yeah, we should honor it. We should honor it. And I'm glad you ladies honor it, and I honor my mother, and I think it's a beautiful thing to do. It helps us with the duality earlier that I was talking about being sad and being happy, or being, you get a little glimpse of joy in that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I totally agree. Carmelina, did you have anything that you wanted to add, or any questions that you want to put
Yeah.
out
So
here?
my question is that, and that's, I'm also at fault for this because I didn't know until I lost my dad. It's like when you're grieving and people are saying, well, just be thankful that you had him for your dad was 87 years, and just, I don't want to hear that. And I didn't realize until someone gave me a book to read. And actually they gave it to me before my dad passed away. It's a book on grieving of a loss, grieving of divorce, and it tells you the basic etiquettes and what's acceptable, and explaining emotions and everything like that. Because it's like, well, you don't lose everybody every day. That's why the feelings are strange to you, and it's hard for you to even comprehend the emotions that you're going through. And then for someone to even tell you, just be thankful for that. No, I want my dad to live 1,000 years, and I can live 1,000 years. I want him 1,000 years.
Amen.
So I tell people,
Mm.
just tell them, like, hey, if you need something, and then listen. Don't your advice telling them, be thankful for being, your dad living 87 years doesn't help with the
Mm-hmm.
grieving process. And so I would want to tell people, don't say that.
I
Don't say, well,
second
at
that.
least he ain't suffering no
I've
more.
heard it. It's a rule
Yeah,
now.
right. Right. Yes.
Yes.
Motion has passed.
Party adjourned.
Yes, right. And
Yes.
so,
It is a written rule.
Don't
exactly. And
say
just say,
that.
right. And just say, you know what? I'm here if you need to talk.
Yes.
That's the best advice I can give anyone, whether you have lost a loved one, somebody's divorcing, or something like that, and they're grieving, whatever it is. Just say, hey, if you need anything, let me know. Or what can I do?
I so support that. I totally agree. You bringing back memories of when people used to say stuff to me. I used to be like, ah.
Right.
But you know what? I was
wanna hear
guilty of
that.
that because I didn't know. You don't know what to say. I didn't know until I started reading because I was trying to understand my feelings and understand. I was like, no, I get it
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know what to say. And
Mm-hmm.
so my thing is like, you're my thought and prayers. I know it sounds people say it all the time, but that's all I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it's
Well, because
also
there's
people
not.
don't know because we don't talk about this.
Yeah.
We don't have these conversations and we don't talk about it. I had a friend, her mother had gotten sick, but was not as sick as my mother. My mother had gotten sicker. And so I had a job that was lucrative and I decided I was going to quit the job. Well, I was like kind of like fake quitting because I stayed on payroll, but I wasn't doing any of the work. So anyhow, she was like very resentful, like, how could you do this? Your mother's gonna die, you're gonna be in financial shambles. And she just was like very. So, as life would have it, my mother had passed. I had spent the time that I had wanted to spend with my mother. My mom was 50 some years old. She could have been, like you said, 87, 99. It don't matter. She's mine.
Doesn't.
So I spent the time that I felt like I could spend and that I needed to spend to be with my mother and take care of my mother. I don't care about the money. The money gonna come, the money gonna go.
Right.
So as the universe and God would have it, her mother then got sick and she was like, I think I'm gonna take off. I said, are you? Are you
Mm-hmm.
taking off? Are you taking the time that you need? Because I took the time I needed. I think it
Mm-hmm.
would be great. I think it would be awesome. And I said all that to say, like, people don't know until they experience it. And then they understand what you're
Exactly.
doing. But then it's sometimes it's a little too late because now you have hurt my feelings or broken the relationship out of something you said out your mouth that wasn't kind.
Like I said, you make adjustments in your relationship. When something like this major happen in your life, you understand who the real friends are. And you just
I,
make adjustments.
I'm gonna start using that. Adjustments have been made.
Mhm.
Have been-
You don't have the same access to me that you had before.
Adjustments have been made.
I like
Yeah.
how you said 1%, but I'm gonna spice it up with a negative. Negative, you're not negative 1%, like on the
That's
other
when you
side.
remove them completely. Yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
Yeah.
that's a permanent removal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
You're
for the
no longer on
question.
the list.
She said
I
that's
tell
a
my
permanent
granddaughter,
removal.
yeah, I tell my granddaughter to this day, I say, honey, you need to make adjustments. I said, you're too young to remove people completely from your life, not unless they try to kill you. I said, because you don't know. I said, but Nani, she can make adjustments and she can remove people. I said, because Nani is retired times two. I said, so
Right.
I I need to make adjustments in my life because I need to live and I don't need the drama and I don't need, it's the self centered people that only think about themselves instead of others.
Correct.
Hmm.
So
Correct.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna start using that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making adjustments. I have made adjustments. I don't cut
mhm,
people off. I have made adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
yes, you have to. Got to
Yes.
subtract.
I love that
Some people you can
perspective.
add on to it because I end up adding on to, didn't realize. I was like, oh my gosh, here this person has stepped up more than my good friend that I had friends with over more years than them. And they only been in my life for a year. And they have walked circles around them. And I thought that they was gonna be by my
Yes.
side, but this person is I was like, oh, so that's why I say you make adjustments, you might add or you subtract. And so that person
I think
stops and
that's when
pulls.
you start learning like who you are too, right? I think
Yes.
Yeah.
in this and this
Oh
in
my
my journey
gosh.
in period,
Mm.
I think I've learned like who I am and who I am
Yes.
to people, not realizing you are not the same person to me.
Yes. Girl,
Hold
that's the word
on.
right there. Even people you done grew up with as teenagers and you realize
Yes.
it and you like, oh my God,
Yes.
they wasn't a friend I thought that they would
Yeah,
be
you'd be
to
like,
me.
wait a minute, this whole ship has been one-sided here. And I didn't even
Yes.
realize it until I'm going through, especially if
That's
you a
it.
person that don't really,
Need anything.
need anything, ask
Mm-hmm.
anything. But
Mm.
when it happens, people end up not being emotionally available, not knowing how to be available, don't know how to tap in, don't know how to show up, don't know how to
Yes.
just be there for
Yes.
whatever. What
Mm-hmm.
is it that you need? And so it's like, wait a minute. I didn't realize all this time that this ship has been one-sided. And
That's
so
because
Mhm.
there was
it's
no holes in the ship.
that's
When there's
right.
no holes in the ship and the
Right.
ship is just
That's
moving
it.
along,
Yeah.
everybody
That's
rolling,
it.
everybody fine. But when you get a hole in the ship, you see who gonna come to help you close up that
Mhm.
hole, mend that
Mm-hmm.
hole real fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah. And so that's when, like you said, boundaries, making adjustments, because you just be like, oh, now wait a minute, hold on. You have shown me. Now that you've shown me, now I gotta do my due diligence. I gotta do my job.
That's a me thing.
Yeah, I gotta do my
That's
job now.
me. Yeah.
Right? And that's what and
Yes.
that's just
Yeah.
that's what it is. So
When you lose a
um
parent, your whole entire life changes. Everything
Yes.
shifts. Um, you don't even look at life. I don't know about you guys, but I don't look at life the same
Nope.
way.
No
mm-mm.
more.
It's like it's
Never.
too short. Y'all tripping over this little petty stuff. I just lost
Mm-hmm.
my dad. I said, I'm about to take this trip. I am
Mm-hmm.
not tripping off you guys. No, ma'am. I'm about to remove myself from this, this organization. I'm about to remove myself from here. I'll be
Fast.
subtracting from everything, not just people, but
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
Even when I
Places.
retired from my job, I said, "How about I need to retire from?" I'm like you, Kim. I retired from my job. I said, "Oh no, my mom's gonna need more of my attention because my dad was her caregiver." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh yeah, I need to retire."
Mm-hmm.
And you did,
Yep.
and that feels good to be able to make decisions. But when you lose a loved one, you see how important it is to make those decisions, sometimes based on decisions they didn't make. You
Right.
go, oh, they didn't do that, let me do that. Or they didn't do this, let me do that. People, another conversation would be people getting their paperwork in order. Unfortunately, in the Black community, we don't have our paperwork in order. Okay, we
We
don't have
don't.
life policies, we don't have insurance, we don't have, I have a community that I'm part of here, and I'm going to go talk to them about transferring your deed upon death. We are homeowners. Who is getting your home? You work for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
Yeah.
those are
Thankfully.
things
Yeah.
you don't talk about or do, but until we lose someone and we go, oh, this is important. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, life changes. It just
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my
really
God, you
changes.
said the word right there. Paperwork in order. My dad had a will and everything, but one thing he didn't have, his account, they had most of his money in there. My mom's name wasn't on there.
And he did have a
So
beneficiary on the account.
um I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, no, this account just had his name on there.
Just had his name.
But they need that they
Mhm.
yeah. And so thankfully I retired. So that was like a full-time job. We had the bomber took care of it. And so that can be a whole testimony right there because end up going to a bank where she had just got off a trip with the attorney that my mom had, and they went back and forth. We got the money and got everything straightened out. And then
Thankfully.
another thing with the paperwork is that my dad ended up purchasing a plot, and then he kept on being was concerned about this plot, when he was sick. And then I was like, Dad, what is going on with this plot? And so I end
Right.
up, you have to have a sibling or have a kid that's willing to take the lead on it. And I took the lead on
Yes.
it and found out what's going on. I end up, they end up paying off their mausoleum and everything before my dad passed away. And then once we got that paid off, it's like my dad was ready to pass on. He was like
Yeah.
at peace because he
Mm.
got that part was done. And so but we got everything taken care of for my mom. Everything was squared away. And I tell people now to this day, I said, y'all don't need all this funeral. Y'all need all this
Mhm.
extra stuff
Mhm.
because when I was going line by line, looking at my dad's stuff, it's a ripoff. And so that's one thing, Kim, you're
Super.
talking about. We don't talk about that. Go through that stuff. I said, you know what? I told my
Line from
daughter,
line.
It
I
is
was like,
such a
I went
ripoff.
ahead and got myself pre-approval for a national cemetery because I'm eligible for that. And I told my daughter, just have a memorial service and then you can have me a graveside service. I said, I'll be okay if you just have a graveside service at the national cemetery. Don't pay for anything extra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
Mm-hmm.
having those conversations when your parents die, you then understand how important it is to talk to your siblings, your children,
It
your
is.
whoever is close to you. You have those conversations. You put your POAs in order. You put your beneficiaries in
Yes.
order. You get your insurance policies. I just had to have an uncomfortable conversation with my father that is ill, very sick. Hey, what do you want? And
Mm-hmm.
and how are we
Right.
spending this money? What are we doing? I mean, because we don't have it, and then we get to the point where people get sick and ill or they pass, and then there's all these fights and conversations that
That's
we
it.
never had to have. My
That's it.
kids,
But it's a lesson learned.
It
I was like,
is.
oh no. I said, we're not doing this. And but you know what, you seen it happen, with your not even your immediate family, but I seen it happen with my dad's siblings,
Yes.
where they wasn't prepared and then people having to gather up money. I said, oh no, we're not doing this. I tell my siblings, say, you guys need to be making sure that you have arrangements in place. I said,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you're talking to your kids and those that don't have kids. Like, what's your arrangement? My handicapped brother, I went ahead and purchased his mausoleum plot. I said, no, I got yours. Since my VA is taking care of mine, I got yours. I said,
Yes.
but everybody else, I said, we're not going to be doing no GoFundMe. I said, I need y'all to get yourself together. And then go ahead and do your obituary. Go ahead and do Chat GPT and have that stuff laid
Type it
out so
on
that
out.
everybody know what's happening with you and what you didn't accomplish in your life. So we're not, because I remember sitting at the table with my dad, everybody was like asking questions. Luckily, his sister was there, and then I had already did a Google search on his sister's, which they did her obituary, because some incorrect information was coming out. I was like, but it wasn't Aunt Sarah's obituary. Oh, it wasn't. No. You have to have the right people at the table and bring everybody involved so they can have that obituary, even though people probably
Yes.
may not think much of it, but it needs to be accurate.
It
I
does,
agree.
because it's a history
It
piece
is.
of evidence, and people don't realize, like, when somebody they go back and look at
That's right.
obituary to figure
That's what
out
I did.
who's who.
That's right. I
Mm-hmm.
told I my last words was I was putting things together is this has to be right. If I don't do anything else, this has to be right because this is the last piece of document that will represent
Hmm.
my mother, represent my father. So it has
Mm-hmm.
to be right.
Yes,
And people don't understand like this is important.
it
Because when people go
is.
back to look for at Myron Moon, not only do we need to speak to who he was and his character,
Amen.
but the names. I don't
Yes.
care if these people
Yes.
wasn't around every day. I don't care. They connected.
Right.
They
Mm-hmm.
connected.
That's that.
It's the bloodline. This is who they
Mm-hmm.
are. And it's really just that simple. And
It is.
people don't understand that. But I love that. And maybe we need to figure out how to get if y'all know somebody. But I love that you said getting paperwork together and having those conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's a topic I would love to get some. So if y'all know somebody, let me know. But get somebody on to talk about and doing it in baby steps because I think sometimes we can get kind of overwhelmed, right? Like, oh wait a minute, hold on, now you're doing too far. This is just too much information. So somebody who can speak to doing the A, the B, then okay, pause. Now you do the C, the D, just certain things to
Mhm.
put in order.
Can I
Uh,
speak on that though?
sure,
Before you go
absolutely.
past it, one of the, like, for me with my order steps is beneficiaries on accounts. I had to make sure I had beneficiaries on my bank accounts. I bank several different places, and most people do,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't always bank that. Well, you shouldn't
Right.
really, but that. I'm not talking about nobody's financial business. But you bank at different places for different reasons. Having
Mm-hmm.
beneficiaries, I think, is a step that doesn't cost you a dime.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even need a notary. You going in the bank saying, "This is who I want on the beneficiary." Had I go, I think that's a nice first simple little
Right.
step. Another little simple step that don't cost nobody no real money is a POA. You need a
Oh yeah.
POA for your health, and you need a POA, a durable one for your money. And somebody need to be
Exactly.
able to speak up. And those are three little ways
Yes.
that don't cost a lot of money. The POAs, you will need notaries, but you can go to your bank that you bank at
Mm-hmm.
and get a free notary. And those are some ways. And you get those paperworks from your local county office. I live, well, we all live in Columbus. You can go right down here to the auditor's office, and get that paperwork, and you can have some of those papers, or you can go to the law library. I'll give you a better one. Law library is awesome. You go to the law library right downtown. Look up the address because I don't have it by heart. And you go in there. Actually, it's in the courthouse. Take that back. It's 373 South High Street, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You go up, and it's the 10th floor. You go up there and you ask them, may I have a POA for health? May I have a durable POA for my finance? And then you can also get the transfer deed if you have a home there as well. All
Right.
those paperworks, because I just received them. I actually got some extra copies. I had about 10 extra copies. So I passed some out to my neighbor. Anyway, it cost me $20. And that was like
Right.
about 15 copies. And it was 10 minutes of my time. So those
Right.
are things that people can get in order in a couple of first steps. That's my two
Yeah.
cents. I'm done. Sorry. Go ahead.
That
No,
was
I
good.
love
We
That
was
was
that.
real good.
closing out.
No,
We
I
don't got to
love
get
that.
nobody else. This
'Cause
your first
Right.
steps.
this is the first steps. This is the
Exactly.
first steps. This is it.
Hmm.
Good.
This is it. And I love that you said that because this stuff, and I hate that we do get to a point to when things do just, go south, then it's we scrambling, fridge fry, who got this? Who got that? Well, who gonna do this? This is like it shouldn't be it shouldn't be like that.
Then
You
you
know,
can't mourn.
you can't mourn because you was too busy. You too busy
Working.
doing things,
You,
right? But Kim, you said something else, or Carmelina, one of y'all, I don't know who said it, about having the conversation with the parent, right? I'm still trying to figure out how to help people have an easy conversation with their parents because I can remember 2011, 2012 trying to have conversation with my mom and my dad about certain things. And back then I was really young. I was what, in my 30s? And so
Hmm.
I didn't have the know-how to be like, hey, X, Y, and Z. I just went to him like, okay, what is it that you want? What if something happened to you? And I realized my approach then was really uncomfortable. Like, girl, what? Ain't nothing gonna happen to me. What are you talking about? And as you get older, you still realize that when you have these conversations with your parent, I believe now that you still have to approach it from the child perspective. You know what I
absolutely
mean?
respect because you want to
Yeah.
give them that respect.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you still have
Hmm.
to approach it from a child perspective, but also not bombard them with so many questions too, right? And so it's almost still like you still got to slow walk and you just got to
Finesse a
slow
little
walk it.
bit.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. And so to Kim's point about having those conversations with your parent, if I had to give any advice to any adult child, remember to always approach it still from a child perspective, um, and slow walk it. Have them tell you where information is, because believe it or not, some of our parents do have stuff in order and stuff tucked away or under the bed, in the drawer, or wherever, right?
Right.
But they may have not have even shared that information because here we go. If you have more than one child, I feel like some parents are still trying to figure out like, I don't want that child to know. I definitely don't want that child to know. This child I may be able to, you know what I mean? So I feel like it becomes a who I'm
And I
allowed.
don't think that that's right either. I have three children and I literally had an honest conversation. My son is on the spectrum. So his twin kind of takes care of him a little bit so that I'm going to leave them the house. Why wouldn't I? My
Mm-hmm.
oldest daughter's never here and I love her to death. She's in school to be an engineer. She probably will never be home. It's not something that she wants to do. And I love that for her. I love her to death. In saying that, I have a policy. She gets more money. You don't get the house because you're not going to live in it. He
Mm-hmm.
gets the house because he's going to live there. It's an open conversation. So if I die tomorrow, they know what accounts people are going to get 33.33. That's going to be split out, and then the other ones that people are going to the twins are going to get the house, and I think having open conversations so people are not bitter, so that so that my kids are not arguing when I leave. I don't want my oldest daughter thinking I didn't love her more than I love the twins. I love you all equally. You are all going to be using things differently, so let me do what is going to be beneficial to you in your life. And I have that open, I've had that conversation. My paperwork is all together. But I'm saying that to say, parents, please, if you have multiple children, just have an open conversation and tell them why you're doing what you're doing. Not just
Yeah,
put the wheel
that part.
together and then they looking like, well, why did they get the house? Well, I explained it. You know, your brother's on the spectrum. He's probably gonna always need somewhere to live. Your sister agreed that she would have her kids and still help him so that they're gonna get the house. My
Right.
oldest daughter was
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, that make good sense, Mom. I don't, I'll be gone." Okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
Right.
so I
Communication is the
agree because I
biggest
feel
thing.
like people are
yes,
having a hard time having those open
mhm,
conversations and those
true.
transparent conversations about the why, the A, the B, the C, the one, two, three. I feel like
Mhm.
it's very difficult for people to step into that place. And I'm so happy that you are having those conversations. I feel like we are the generation that should be having the conversations with our children, right?
Because we just had it hard. So why should we want to let we just did the hard thing,
Yep.
and so we shouldn't want them to do the hard thing too. We should now want them to do the easier thing so that hopefully they follow our steps and have their stuff in order. I have to have POAs on my children. I told them I'm your mom, I'm not your mate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
No, for
thankfully
real.
my dad did have a will and everything laid out. So and then
Amen.
my mom just pretty much took that same will and just redid it, updated it, and so and no one's tripping about the house. It goes like all of us that have our own house, we don't want that house. It's too much house. So and so my dad, I remember I told you guys he was a jack of all trades. So there was a lot of stuff in there that he had jerry rigged that we're still fixing to this day. Yeah, so I was like, I don't know what he did. Can you just fix it?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
real
See, my
common.
I was
Go
gonna say
ahead.
neither one of my parents did. And I tried to have that conversation. I felt like for whatever the reasons were, they didn't have, you know what I mean? Like they wasn't open to it. But again, we're talking about 2012, 2013, 14, 15. That was well over 10 plus years ago, you know.
Mhm.
And I was much younger about trying to have a conversation. There is a part of me that just felt like my parents was like, "Yeah, we don't need to have a conversation." When it
Right.
happens, like you'll be the one to figure it out, you
Right.
know, not knowing all of the things that comes with it,
The burden.
the burden that comes with it. Yeah.
I had a conversation with my dad recently because of his health decline. That's how I said it. I was very respectful. I'm unfortunately my dad's only child. So there is no other siblings of his that I'm going to be doing a conversation or loop with. So I simply said to him, "Dad, you really want to burden me with that? You really want to like, Dad, I do a
Right.
lot and I got a lot going on, Dad." And sometimes I know people like, "Oh, that's kind of," but your parents want to love you. So they
Hmm.
hear that. And he was like, oh yeah. Then he started telling me stuff. How much is due on this house? Do you outright own this house? I don't want to live in Dayton.
Hmm. Hmm.
Was born there, but I don't want to live there. So I'm going to sell the house if you give it to me.
Right.
Do you want to give it to someone else? Like, so I just asked how I opened up that conversation. Sometimes I think an opener is to tell them how they're going to impact you
Yes.
and in the most loving way. And I think that's a wonderful way to open that
Yes.
conversation.
I agree. I totally agree. I
Hmm.
totally agree. So, ladies, before we get ready to wrap up, so I want to mention really quick about because I want everyone to do this who's listening that is an adult child that has lost a mom, dad, or both of your parents. And so early on in the podcast, we have mentioned that we did index cards. So if you have lost a parent, the index card, I giving you the task. This is for the audience. Giving you the action item to do as well is to take an index card and detail how the holidays may
Yeah.
impact you, right? Take an index card and just detail how holidays impact me. And then the second part is on the same index card, or if you need another one, you are going to share on the index card how the holidays trigger. What are your triggers? So this is going to help you um just identify your feelings, get more tuned in what exactly what's going on with you, because sometimes I feel like all of our emotions are in here and we don't really understand what's going on in here. And so it creates just being upset, angry, and all these things. And we don't really get to process it, but getting it on paper will help you process it. So, any adult child that's listening to this podcast that has lost a mom or dad, that is your takeaway. You will get an index card and get to writing. Get to writing. Both Carmelina and Kim have shared that it was helpful for them. I also want to share, and Kim and Carmelina, if y'all know anybody, definitely let me know. But in the month of November, what I will be doing is having short conversations with people on Friday evenings. Girl child. of someone who has lost a mom or dad, right? And so that's what I'm gonna be doing for the month of November. Just for any individual girl child who has lost a mom, dad, or both, that's your takeaway to do the index card and share on the index card how the holidays have impacted you and how they impact you and what the triggers are. This will just kind of help you get in tune with your feelings, your emotions, and it will also kind of help you kind of navigate the holidays as well. And honestly, anything that impacts you, right? Birthdays, because it's more than just holidays. You will start to identify what your triggers are. So before we wrap up, we do have pictures of our loved ones that we are going to share with you all. Carmelina, if you would like to go, and then Kim, this is a moment of sharing our loved one with you. As we said early on, grief is a space of love that is physically not here, but we are going to continue to keep their name going, keep their names going, keep their energy going, keep their light going. And so we are going to share pictures of our parents, Carmelina, Kim, and then I'll go.
Alrighty. So this is the picture of me and my mom and my dad. I'm on the end with the black jacket. I was home on military leave. And then my dad is in the middle with like the flannel shirt on, and then my mom is on the end. My mom is still living. My dad is the one that passed away, and I was the only one of his kids, 6 kids, that went to the service. My dad was in the army as well, and I was stationed in Germany at the time, and so he was stationed in Germany as well. Different locations, but still Germany.
I love it. Oh, thank you for sharing. Yes.
Welcome.
Kim.
Okay. So this is my mom. Her name, it was Tara Lynn. And she just was a dynamic woman, and she had several different jobs and duties and careers. She was a bartender and a limo driver in Atlanta at the same time.
Oh,
Got to
wow.
meet Babyface and all of the
Oh,
wonderful.
nice.
Yes. And then she became a fiscal officer and retired from OSU. So she was one of those women where, if it needed to get done, it was getting done, and she taught me how to get things done. And I miss her. I love her. And honor her today. I'm wearing a dress, and she always wore a dress because she said ladies wear dresses. And sometimes I like to be a lady. And so I adore her. And so that's Tara Lynn. And so that's my mommy.
I love that. Yay. Thank you for sharing. I had to find a picture that had both my mom and my dad in it. My mom and dad, they were not married. And I often tell people, because people be like, oh, was your mom a single mom? Well, not when it came to me. She was a co-parenting mother. So uh-oh. Can you all see this? Ah, make sure.
Now I
Okay, now
can.
again. Yes.
So that is my mom, Linda Lee Reynolds, and that is my dad, Myron D. Moon. So I have phenomenal parents. And when I tell you that when I tell you somehow they figured out this whole co-parenting thing, they did. They probably could have taught a class, right? If they ever argued, I wouldn't know because they never did in front of me. The only thing my mom did and my dad disliked is that I could probably count on both of my hands that I got whoopings, and they were well deserving at the time, right? When I was a kid. My dad used to be like, Linda, we don't have to whoop her. Let's just talk to her. Let's just talk to her, Linda. And my mother would be like, Myron, no. She knew what she was doing. She's old enough. She's getting a whooping here. You talk to her at your house. Today, she's getting a whooping. So those, if they disagreed about anything, that was probably it, right? Because she was like, over here, she needs to understand I am the woman, I am the mother. Over there, she understands because your voice is different. No, she's getting a whooping. So that hurt his feelings. But eventually my mom kind of warmed up and was like, okay, I can understand this whole talking thing. Let's talk to her. But that was the only time if I ever seen them disagree about anything, that was it. But when I say they mastered co-parenting, they really did. They mastered co-parenting to the point where I'm like, oh, I learned so many things. I didn't even know I was learning these things as a child. If I had to co-parent, I would be great at it.
Right. Right.
So, ladies, thank you for coming on and talking about grief. This episode is called Friendsgrieving, the support and love affair. So, I just want to say thank you again. If you know anybody, girl child, that has lost a mom, dad, or both, please let them know that in the month of November, I'll probably do it December as well. But on Fridays, I will just be sitting down, chatting it up with people. Probably will do a live or something. And eventually I may even set some time aside and just have small circle conversations with people as the holidays. And so if you all want to be a part of that, to kind of have small circles and just kind of love on another sis while they're going through the process, please let me know. Again, thank you so much for joining in and sharing your story about grief. Listen, I am your girl, Tamekia R. Moon, with Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Please join us on YouTube, Happy Hour Conversations with Tamekia. Facebook, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And we'll talk soon.